I'm Amit from Headshift. So it says technical consultant, all that kind of tech stuff, but I actually have a deeper interest in how the kind of wider picture, why use Confluence, and things like business use cases, and things like figuring out how exactly these things make people work elegantly, and patterns that we've seen in our time at Headshift across various corporate clients and so on. So just very quick intro. Work for Headshift. We set up in 1992. We were one of the first sort of people that did kind of social computing for the corporate world. So this was before, Facebook and Twitter and everything else. And then we got acquired last year by Datchis Group from Texas. And they told us we don't have to wear cowboy boots to work, so it's okay. And then, since then it's just grown in a very big way. So our clients are generally public sector, private sector, legal, financial, so a lot of the regulated sectors too. And we're kind of agnostic to technology, so even though we're an Atlassian partner, we also work with Drive, even SharePoint, although I'd like to not touch it with a barge pole, and a whole bunch of other sort of technologies. So this is generally about integration, so you can see it the way you want to see it, but I'll talk about the sort of human element of integration. So the definition, the way Wikipedia puts it, is very technology centric. So in the past, software houses have come and said, here's a £7 million project to integrate 4 of your systems, and that's how life has gone on. But in a sense, the Gartner description kind of verges on what I would call the real description of integration, which is the sharing of business processes and the sharing of data. So this is agnostic to technology or platform. It just helps people get work done, irrespective of whatever silo or which application they happen to be using. So moving on from there, what do we really think of? Integration is, what is that? Is that things just working together? Is it I can go to different apps to do different things? Is that what integration really is? Or is it kind of I sign on with the same username across the whole network? Is that true integration? I guess it's more of a philosophical point, what you think integration really is, but if a successful integration, in my view, just simply reduces friction for somebody. So irrespective of being a wiki or Jira or whatever, but if I want to get a proposal written for a client, I could use anything. It could be a wiki, but it could also be Word. In the end, it's the piece of work I need to do. So whilst obviously we mandate things that are collaborative and things that are social, it really has to be the things you want to get done and the tools that are appropriate for that. And sometimes IT projects go headlong into integration projects which integrate for integration's sake, but not necessarily deliver any actual benefit to the actual person who's doing work on the ground. So the other way you might see it is it things that depend on each other. So if AD runs your corporate network, that is your only signing on kind of solution. That's your critical thing. Everything else has to authenticate against your Active Directory or your LDAP. So I guess the question arises as to, if you have a Confluence wiki and you have Jira and you have SharePoint and you have some DMS and you have something else, maybe a file share, does this state of affairs continue to work for you? Or if you want to think about putting them together, how and in what sense would you see that integration happening? So this is completely from an anti-technology point of view. But I think for me it makes sense because it's what I do. When I see something, it helps me get something done. So with that in mind, the third thing is perhaps integration when things are presented together. So if you present too much on a screen, of course it's going to blind people and there's going to be information overload. But the very interesting thing about this is that activity streams have shown us the power of ambient awareness, which is a concept that, essentially what Facebook does, which is what keeps driving you to Facebook's homepage, in that you want to know what your friends are doing, but not explicitly so. You're just ambiently aware of what's going on amongst your colleagues. So Confluence's activity stream, for example, is a form of ambient awareness. It may not necessarily be interesting to you to know that someone far away has done a wiki edit, but sometimes you can jump in, and this process of serendipity allows you to sort of contribute to colleagues outside your general team, or see things that you might not generally otherwise find in any other respect, which is exactly what Facebook does. It connects you to magical things which you didn't ask for, but they're pushed to you. So this idea of presenting together will develop a little bit later on. I'll do the mandatory kind of tech thing of systems integration. I'm sure people amongst you are IT architects and so on who knows a lot of this stuff, but in large corporates, when facing such projects, you'll have somebody who addresses all those integration issues and chooses a pattern that works for your organization. And you may choose then to look at kind of data in canonical form. And organizations now, just like Tobias said about Wiki being like the content repository and the presentation layer being the export to Word, it's coming towards an agnostic form of content rather than sort of a particular software system. So in a sense, you want to think about ways that content from different systems can actually be imported and exported out in an agnostic way. So that as well I see as a critical stool in the integration kind of chair. Leg. Stool has 3 legs. Yeah, anyway. And also the other thing which I think has been bandied around in kind of buzzword bingo language is this whole SOA, service-oriented architecture thing. And frankly, it's just a thing which lets things connect to something else and talk to other things. It's nothing spectacularly tech, and it's not like the world's greatest thing or anything, but it just, it's taken the whole enterprise world by this leash that, hey, we have to integrate, it has to be SOA. And, in a way, social systems are actually about gluing loosely coupled bits together. So the interfaces you have shouldn't be proprietary, they should be RESTful, the way Atlassian's API is a RESTful API, for example, for Confluence. This allows many systems to communicate and integrate. Without this, you can't really do data integration without connecting to a database underlying. Clients of ours have, especially in regulated industries, have come up with I'm sure again you're familiar with all of these, but compliance issues for one of our investment banking clients, and especially some legal clients. Permissions is a standard thing which, if you are, for example, crawling different systems, a wiki, SharePoint, everything else, vendors like Autonomy and various other kind of search vendors promise you that people can't search things or documents they're not supposed to see. And this, of course, is critical in a law firm where you can be sued if people see things that are not supposed to see. So integration in terms of search and discovery is another aspect of how you bring tons of siloed data into a single place. So, and the worst part of it is perhaps legacy software apps that don't have any APIs, and they just give you a database and you're supposed to go and connect to it and fiddle around with it and get something out of it, which unfortunately is the case in proprietary enterprise applications. The why is in a way sort of self-explanatory, because you probably see why in your own organization, why you may want to integrate your Outlook calendar with something else, or would you want to see your events also in a Confluence page, or it's for you to think what would you want where when you integrate, but the hooks that Atlassian provides have been very useful to us, and when we sort of evangelize them with our clients, and that's one of the sort of most elegant parts of Atlassian products we've found, is that there's open platforms and you can connect to Atlassian products freely. So the other sort of benefits are, I guess, more business oriented, but by having agnostic content, you can simplify certain things. So if you have a large company and you have a sort of marketing department and a call center that handles customer support, a very large company, a household name we work with now, launched a product into the consumer market, and marketing advertised its launch date as something else to what the folks in finance wanted to say it was. but they went ahead and launched the product anyway, and the whole, there was this huge reaction in the Twitterverse and the blogosphere about, well, you said the launch date was last week, but why is this changed? And it was just an internal rift in the company's different departments, not knowing exactly what each other's doing. And in a large company that produces consumer goods, this can be make or break in a world where the consumer is really talking about you. So